What is going on, my Guardian gamers, and happy Guardian games? This is Birdman back with another Destiny 2 video. Today I'm going to be showing off a pretty solid Titan build that I've been using to just kind of solo clear the current Nightfall and just kind of all activities, just to kind of do a really efficient farm for all my medallions, medals, all that fun stuff. But before I get into the video, you can follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Birdman778. Give it a like on this video. Comment down below something you're interested in seeing, whether it's Titan, Hunter, or Warlock. Subscribe and become a member. Now, let's talk about this build that is absolutely clearing everything for me in just regular time. Now, we always like to talk about the exotic we're going to use for this setup, and that is going to be the Pyrogale Gauntlets. These were introduced back in Season of the Witch, and it reads: Percussive Flames modifies Burning Maul into a single high damage slam of your hammer that creates several cyclones of flame. Consecration second slam creates a cyclone flame. We're not really going to worry about consecration for this setup just because it's a little bit too much in my opinion. We're just going to try to use this essentially just for the super, just because it's going to create that, even more high damage activation of it that is just going to chunk bosses for us and make our lives 10 times easier. When it comes to the subclass and everything you're going to be needing for this setup, first off, Burning Maul. That's obvious one. If you use Hammer of Soul, it's not going to use the gauntlets correctly, and you're just going to be wasting exotic. Make sure you have Burning Maul on. Going into the abilities, it's kind of up to you across the board, but I recommend Throwing Hammer just because it's easy activation of Cure and also helps out with one of the fragments we're going to be using, and also a healing grenade, just because you're not really going to have to worry about grenades with this setup. Once you kind of see the gameplay, you'll understand having that extra healing is probably more beneficial to you in the long run. For our aspects, Soul Invictus, Solar Final Blows, Hammer of Soul impacts, and creating scorched targets. Great sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster and your super drains more slowly. While standing in a sunspot, sunspots apply scorch and deal damage to targets inside. Entering sunspot applies restoration. Huge one you need to have, just because again, getting that easy restoration is really nice, but also just essentially having like little pockets of flames around the map where enemies are just going to continuously take damage is really nice. And then Roaring Flames is a huge one in my opinion. Final blows with your solar abilities or ignitions increases the damage of your solar abilities, stacks 3 times. Obviously, getting high roaring flames on this and then using your super is just going to be really beneficial, but also just think about like your throwing hammer. Having those multiple stacks means that is going to do a lot more damage. When it comes to our fragments, I recommend Ember of Torches. Absolutely. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Radiant is going to be a great way to just get more damage, but also take on barrier champions. I'm essentially going through that current Nightfall that is for the Guardian games that has a lot of different champions in it, but obviously barrier champions are one of them. I'm able to just take them out pretty easily with either my machine gun or my fusion rifle, just to be able to handle that. Ember of Solace, Radiant Restoration effects applied to you have increased duration. This is more of a luxury one. I recommend just doing whatever works best for you. You can do extra ignitions and stuff like that, but I just noticed this is pretty easy for me, making sure that I have that timer just a little bit longer. Ember of Empyrean, Solar Weapon and ability final blows extend the duration of restoration. Radiant effects applied to you. Again, this one I would say is a must versus Ember of Solace, which is more of the luxury. Having that just continuous activation of it is really nice. And finally, Ember of Blistering, defeating targets with solar ignitions grants grenade energy. Great way to feed into our healing grenade, making sure we're constantly having that available for us. Now, I always recommend weapons to use for this setup, and I'm gonna say the Sunshot is gonna be one of the most important ones. It's just been absolute juicer this season, especially with unstoppable champions being affected by hand cannons. First off, its intrinsic trait, Sunburn. This weapon fires explosive rounds and highlights targets that take damage from sunspots. And then also the Sun Blast, targets killed with Sunshot explode in solar energy. So constantly just kind of nuking areas. Again, big reason why we don't really need to worry about having a offensive grenade is just because this hand cannon is able to handle everything. And obviously with the current artifact with all the different solar stuff in it, this is getting a lot of advantage from that. Other weapons just kind of keep in mind, I really like the scatter signal right now. It's a decent option. That or maybe a some type of stasis fusion rifle would be pretty beneficial. And then when it comes to your heavy, I've just been using my Apex Predator or this Avalanche, just because the Avalanche is pretty solid for activating Radiant with the constant precision hits, and also just taking out plenty of champions. Now, when it comes to the mods and everything you're gonna be needing for your armor, first off, on your helmet, I recommend a Solar Siphon, just because you're gonna be using that Sunshot most of the time, getting those easy orbs of power. Heavy Ammo Finder, just to make sure you're having plenty of heavy ammo, and then also hands-on, just so whenever you get those melee kills with your throwing hammer, you're getting a little bit more super energy for it. On our gloves, a Solar Reloader for faster reloading, a heavy-handed so that we're getting those orbs of power on our melee kill, and also an impact induction, making sure that whenever we cause damage with our melee, we're getting that grenade back a little bit faster, so we have that healing grenade available. Chest piece, I went with triple charged up just to have plenty of stacks of armor charge. With the restoration and cure in this setup, I don't really think you need much of anything like damage reduction wise, but if you feel like you're getting chunked too much, feel free to swap some of these out. Legs, I went with triple solar weapon surge just for that extra 22%. Whenever I have those charges activated. Again, definitely completely up to you if you want to change some stuff up, but I just went full offense with this. And then finally on our Titan mark, I went with a time dilation to make sure those armor charge stacks stay nice and juicy, powerful attraction to pull in orbs whenever I activate my banner, and then also a bomber so that whenever I activate that class ability, I'm getting some grenade energy back. When it comes to the artifact, obviously you want to put on unstoppable cannon, so you're able to handle those. In the second slot, I recommend Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch, getting a little bit more out of that. From Whence You Came, so that whenever you attack Scorn or Taken, you're doing more damage. In the third slot, Flint Striker, Rapid Solar Weapon, Precision Hits, and Rapid Solar Weapon, Final Blows, grants Radiant. Huge part for this. I really recommend that. I added a torch on there just for whenever I'm playing with like teammates and stuff. I'm going to be pretty Radiant most of the time. And if they do any strand or stasis debuffs, I'm going to be doing some more damage. And then a Wished into Being, so I'm getting my super back just a little bit faster. Fourth column, definitely recommend Revitalizing Blast so that you are weakening champions whenever you hit them with like your hammer. Definitely really viable. And then Overload Rocket Launcher, so obviously I'm able to take on Overload since Solar is not really able to handle Overload champions. Great way to do that. And then the fifth column, a Race of Precision, while Radiant Solar Precision Final Blows cause combatants to ignite, adding onto the big boom boom of this build. And then a Solar Operative so that I'm getting some more damage while I'm playing solo. Always like to talk about how this is able to handle all the different champions in the game. First off, Barrier. Obviously, we just have to become Radiant. That's pretty easy. Do know that while you are Radiant, you are not going to be able to do any of the barrier effects with your slingshot. So make sure you're swapping over to a different weapon. Again, big reason why I have the Scatter Signal, just because one burst of that is going to take out the entire barrier on its own. Really nice. For Unstoppables, obviously our Sunshot's able to handle that, or just Solar Ignitions in general. You're able to get those off from just like shooting like a combatant next to like an Unstoppable, and then it would explode and then the ignition will stun them. And then finally for Overload, obviously nothing solar involved in that, so you either need to match it depending on what the current thing is, or again, like I said, putting on a rocket launcher right now like this Apex Predator is super beneficial. Do note it is Guardian games, so we have the Contenders boon. This is going to be really nice just for getting some extra buffs throughout your playthroughs, so make sure that you're getting that activated as soon as possible. I'm actually really loving Guardian games right now, just running through everything and playing and having fun, all that fun stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys really enjoyed. Make sure you're giving a like on this video, subscribing, becoming a member, and let me know something you're interested in seeing down below. Hopefully we have some more stuff to talk about when it comes to this April update, and then obviously Final Shape coming down the bend here a little bit. I am going to be doing a giveaway for a deluxe edition of Final Shape, so make sure you're subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be giving extra juice to members who are becoming a member, being able to earn that. And then yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great night, day, whatever it may be.